Hello, everyone. We are Group 1 and will be presenting the Pulp Fiction magazine Amazing Stories, the issues from 1965 to 1967, with the theme of the Interstellar Panic. What happens when you combine an ambitious inventor who wants to portray his love for technological advancement and an era of prosperity? You get the founding of one of the most successful science fiction magazines of the 20th century, titled Amazing Stories. Hugo Gernsback was the brain behind a magazine that ran from 1926 through 2005, with a major focus on predicting what humans would do given very advanced technology. The issues of the magazine we'll be exploring are the ones from 1965 to 1967, a time period marked by the increasing popularity of communism, war, and atomic weaponry. Society was overwhelmed with propaganda from the Red Scare and the increasing tensions over nuclear war. Humanity was tested in an effort to question the political beliefs for what was true and what only served as a fallacy. This generation of humans developed a distinct view of politics and global conflict, which forged the path for counterculture, which shaped the following decades of humankind. Then, you put religion on the radar, and everything you believe is suddenly questioned by those who are trying to sell an ideology based on extremist views. This leads us to the main topic of discussion for our presentation. What would this type of scenario look like if we inhabited other planets? Who would rule our civilization, and what political structure will we adopt?
In the year 1965, a lot of conflicts were happening in the US and internationally. Perhaps most notable was the space race. Unlike the other events, this was a new frontier. Before this time, there was little to no knowledge about space and potential life on other planets, and there were several theories as to how it would play out. An example of one of these theories is the story The Weapon Too Dreadful to Use by Isaac Asimov, published in the August 1965 publication of the Amazing Stories magazine. In this short story, humans have colonized Venus and treat the intelligent natives as inferiors, similar to colonization on Earth and conflicts like the Vietnam War. After the Venusians find a weapon that was once deemed too dreadful to use, they use it to render their colonizers useless and take back control of their planet. The humans then draft a peace treaty and the Venusians destroy the weapon. The fact that the Venusians used the dreadful weapon to only gain their home back and not to retaliate against the humans shows the belief that they feel justified in the acts of colonization of a species they know little to nothing about. This is a result of fear. Fear of other species, fear of more advanced weaponry, fear of retaliation, and ultimately, fear of the unknown. Therefore, Asimov and other writers of the time wrote stories where these fears are not used against humans and end well for all parties involved despite the wrongdoings of the humans. On our next slide, we see other magazines of the time that were published in 1965 with stories about the space race and the future of computers among humans, which demonstrates the importance of the topic at the time.
In the following year, 1966, there was a pattern ongoing, a lot of action and drama embedded in the magazine. While browsing through the earliest issues, those especially released in 1926, there is a consistency in terms of the trends over the years, and they are rationally relatable to the 1966 issues. They share in common the obsession with space and departing the planet. Most interestingly, humans or other equivalent terms refer to a whole society with cohesive thinking and unity, not just individuality. Uh, uh, yeah. From a contemporary magazine, we see the crowd witnessing the destruction. That scene uh, is meant to mimic war conditions wherein there are no central characters, as they are not important more than the outcomes of the event itself on the society, not each individual. Relating that to the issues republished in 1966, they talk about the attempt to colonize Mars. Tons of hovering vehicles and the warm atmosphere were the general trend, and I would say that they fairly don't go into individuality more than just the generalization in terms of the primary events within and transitions in between. Moving on, in the same era, some movements occurred questioning God's existence or somewhat ignoring it. such as the Church of Satan and Black Theology. To define the general mood of the 1966 magazine, Amazing Stories issues, they contain quite transformative events, and they are also leaning toward advocating for liberty and morals.
1967 was a time of fear, hope, and hardship, with more growth in the space race, rising tensions involving the ongoing Vietnam War and Cold War, and increasing panic about the use of advanced weaponry. Amazing Stories published multiple issues during this time that portrayed the fears and excitements of their audience, with vivid war and space scenes. The most prevalent themes in the Amazing Stories 67 issues were man versus the unknown, fear of technology, and life in space. The covers and stories largely revolve around the idea of different civilizations in space and the conflict they have in their worlds. Stories such as The Heaven Makers and Born Under Mars went along with the escalating fears about the unknowns of space, especially with NASA's Mariner 5 probe's Venus missions and the Surveyor 3 probe landing on the moon, happening just at this time. Even the cover art in these magazines sparked fear with their tense scenes, with one, Atomic Fire, relating to the nuclear threats between the Soviet Union and the US amid the Cold War. Amazing Stories also wanted to offer hope to their readers, either by advertising faulty inventions or religious comfort. With their stories including many conflicting messages about religion and war, Amazing Stories had a balance by making their readers feel more significant and in control with their secret societies like the Rosicrucians and spy-like devices similar to the ones in their stories. Amazing Stories focused on giving their readers ways to process the events happening during this period and build personal connections with the stories through similar fears in the real world and these other universes. These magazines helped tie together the science fiction and religious aspects of the genre by following that fear goes hand in hand with wonder and hope.
Science fiction can be defined as imaginative extrapolation of true natural phenomena existing now or likely to exist in the future. Hugo Gernsback. These are the stakes to make a world in which all of God's children can live or go into the dark. We must either love each other or we must die. Lyndon B. Johnson. The fears of communism, war, exoplanet habitability, and nuclear weapons are consistently shown in the images and stories in the magazine and relate back to class discussions about what science fiction serves to do for a time period. Starting with Piper's Operation RSVP, an undertone relating to communism can be seen. The story examines two world powers with the ability to destroy each other, who end up making peace due to fighting a common enemy, a biological, quickly spreading virus. With the Cold War happening, stories ending in peaceful mitigation of war could have served as hope for the future. Next, in Wurzenbacher's The Man from the Atom, protagonist Kirby is stuck trillions of years in the future, on a planet that can never take the place of his own. This shows the fears associated with space exploration and that a planet like Earth may never be found. This graphical analysis ad sums up nearly every major topic in our archive. Its purpose is to use high-tech scientific writing analysis to unveil the secrets of anyone, which shows an obsession for knowledge. With communism raging, it can be seen why one would want to eliminate the unknown in an advanced way. It is advertised to gain a deeper insight to people, even themselves. But as much as sci-fi has pondered, was there really a need for this technology and what implications would it have? This is an example of human short-sightedness and creating things without much question of the need for it. It is also an example of how human emotions, particularly the need for understanding human nature, can drive the creation of technology. Wells's The War of the Worlds image captures parallels between the Cold War's mutually assured destruction by atomic weaponry. The war raised questions on the habitability of Earth and how man could create his own ruin through conflict and technology. It also questions hierarchy among man and the unknown. This story showing up in the archive is proof of how science fiction can serve as the mythology of the future. The magazines from 1965 through 1967 show the influence of events like the space race on questions about human dominance, space is a new frontier of exploration, and fear, hope, and wonder. They also show the materialization of various ideas, anxieties, and thoughts in this period, and class discussions help give knowledge to how those ideas could have come about.